Hey guys, I'm Shaft of the Cleaning Casting crew. Welcome to Season 2 of Crash Course. The build we're going to look at today could be called a variety of things. It could be called a fast pull build, Zerg vs Terran, so that's really weird. It could be called a fast muta build, a heavy queen build, a defensive build. There's a lot of labels that would fit this build, but the biggest thing to understand is that it is quite unusual. Before we go too in depth as to like what the standard build is, I just want to show you guys a really cool game that's pretty much an auto victory if you play your cards right just by using this build. It's very safe against cheese. Okay, so the first thing really to take away from this match is, well, it's going to be a 2 proxy build out of Pulp. Here's the first proxy, second proxy going to be incoming. Yep, here we go. And this is right in the center of the map where he can go to this location or that location. On these 3 spawn locations, this is very, very, very popular. And Pult, a player known for mixing it up, formerly known as Optimus Prime, for quite a good reason. And Revival has not done any scouting. Justice Overlord gone to the wrong base, so he knows nothing. This is very important when you see his defense. He knows nothing. But real quick, we're going to go over the build order. Pull, hatch, gas. Pretty simple. He gets 2 Zerglings for scouting. Again, we'll get into the build order later. This is more just for your enjoyment and to see some of the strengths of this build order. Boom, immediately spawns to take out the scout. Chases that scout right on out. So he's taking out the SCV with these lings. The question really becomes, what has he seen? And the answer to this question is nothing. He does not see the Marines. He does not see the barracks. He's not really running away from anything. This is the first moment that he knows anything is up. Take a look at what he's got right this second. He's got a queen and 1 ling because he just lost a ling. At this point, he is getting, or at least working on getting gas. Pulling off his workers. Now this is a response to what he sees coming. He doesn't need a bunch of gas because this is a rush. So you can go ahead and pull off here. Don't consider this part of the build. Again, we'll get into the build later. Immediately drops a spine the second he can afford it. Now, this is not really an option for someone who goes hatch first. This pull would probably just be popping up. I don't know exactly how the timings would work out, but getting this pull first means a lot more scouting and a lot more defense for Revival. And the Marines just harassing this hatchery. They don't want to get a little bit too greedy and go up the ramp just yet. They could get surrounded or hurt. Leapfrogging the bunkers forward, he can retreat back to that other bunker and guard this one if necessary. The SCV Queen combination going to be working its way onto the creep, and that spine took a little bit of damage. Here we go, taking a little bit more, but there's going to be enough for a transfuse. There we go. And that's a huge number of lings here for defense. Again, testament to the fact that he went pull first, as is this quick metabolic boost. And there's not exactly a lot Pulp can do from this point. He's going to be forced to pull those barracks back, but with those barracks floating, it's going to be really hard for him to defend this main base. So the Baneling's going to be coming in. Another round of links coming in as well. And here we go. Here's the Baneling bust coming in. Great little follow-up here by Revival, taking his teammate out of this match. Huge hits on those SCVs. The Hellions not going to be enough to clean this up. But as you can see, a very powerful build, all on its own right. Very strong defensively, gives you the ability to react to your opponent. But it begs the question, you know, what if your opponent plays the macro game? Aren't you behind going pull first versus hatch first? And that's important. So let's talk about that. Here's a match of JaeDong versus Gumiho, where JaeDong has gone hatchery first. We are going to be fast forwarding it on to the 6-minute mark, but what I want you to notice is the heavy ling expenditure. Now, lings and drones come from the exact same source, that is larva. If you are producing lings, you are by definition not producing drones. And that can be an issue. In this particular match, we're seeing a very traditional Terran opener in the form of Reapers into Hellion Harass. And this is something JaeDong's should be prepared for. But bear in mind, this is King Sejong Station, one of the maps that we mentioned earlier as being very wide and hard to defend aggression really of any sort, but cheese in particular. Not that this is really cheese, but it's still a hard map, wide open natural, lots of space behind these mineral lines, and easy access to this ramp. Gonna have to be pretty on the spot with your queen positioning, and as you can see, JaeDong only sitting on the 3 queens, has delayed the 4th queen, may not be ready for the Hellions. We'll see how he chooses to deal with this, but notice he does not have a spine crawler. Ling speed's only just now finishing. 8 more lings, 10 more lings in production. That is a 2 Hellion, 1 Reaper harassment. So again, these are by definition larva being spent on lings, not being spent on drones. Lots of good hits on just 2 Hellions on these drones, and some damage actually being taken here from JaeDong. 3 drones did die there, but a lot of mining time loss and some weakened drones as well. The argument again is there that pull first may not be as good as hatch first, but take into account the safety element, and I would say the two are pretty much equal. Now there are arguments to say that the extra production from the queen can help you resaturate this natural, and economically this opener is just as good as hatch first. And you know, that may be true, it may not be true. The numbers are there to explore. But one thing is for certain with this build, you are going to be delaying your 3rd due to the way map control will fluctuate. However, we're going to be going on to the next match in this lineup. Just wanted to give you a point of comparison to show that that larva expenditure is definitely something to keep in mind. Having a spine crawler, which only costs 1 larva, is a lot more effective in holding off Hellions, Reapers, or anything of this sort than a huge number of lings, and that is something that a pull first will help you get up. Because Terran are spending so much time on Reapers and Hellions, they are by definition not getting reactors or stem pack or a huge number of marines. If they are doing that, then there's economic reasons, disadvantages that you can exploit. But in the standard metagame, by going Reaper and Hellions, possibly into Banshees, possibly into something else, are really sacrificing their anti-air. It's quite lacking, and again, with this delayed marine production, Thor's a distant desire, Terran don't have an answer for quick Mutalisks. With this build, you're going to get a few mutas really, really fast and try to exploit your opponent's lack of turrets and take away his map control. Fast Mutalisks are, for this reason, a particularly powerful tool. The idea is to get a greedy gas without exposing a target to the Terran. Hence, it's necessary to delay the 3rd until the Spire has begun. Hellions hold map control in this matchup. They completely massacre lings. Lings cannot hold watchtowers or anything without support from another unit, usually in the form of roaches. But getting a roach warren delays the Zerg. Having to produce roaches eats up Zerg's supply. It's not something the Zerg really wants to do. It's the map control that allows Hellions to sneak into a Zerg's base. If a Zerg sees Hellions coming, he's going to close his queen wall off and get his units in position. However, if he's not able to see the Terran coming, he's going to have a lot of difficulty closing it off. He can be caught out of position. It's all really going to come down to luck. Mutalisks will wrest map control away from the Hellions. The Hellions have no way of stopping Mutalisks from holding the Xel'Naga towers. Of course, air units can't hold them, but the Lings can come in as ground forces to hold those positions. This will then allow the Zerg to safely take a 3rd and transition into whatever composition he is choosing to go. This also significantly delays the Terran third. Generally speaking, Terrans take their third and use their army and a defensive posturing with a planetary fortress to withstand ground attacks. There's not really that big a threat of Mutalisks, and by the time there is, the turrets are usually there to defend. Not so in this case. This hard counters drop styles, Banshee builds, Hellbat rushes, bunker rushes, proxy raxes, and a myriad of other cheeses. Thanks for tuning in. Really hope you stick around. We've got a word from our sponsors coming up. Grab yourself a plate of nachos, a little bit of pizza, new soda, refreshments, all that good stuff, because we'll be right back. Naturally, you're going to want to know how to use this build. The build order itself kind of fluctuates. It's not the timing or the numbers that really matter. It's the ideas behind them. You can go an earlier pull than what I'm going to suggest, as you're going to see JaeDong do in the upcoming game, but the concepts behind the game are still there. What I'm going to recommend is just an economic opener. It's still going to keep you safe. It's probably the closest thing economically to a fast hatch without actually being a fast hatch, though again, the numbers are there to be debated. 14 pull, 16 hatchery, 15 gas. This allows you to get your hatchery fairly quickly, and then, you know, grab your gas, get your metabolic boost, and do what you're going to do from there. But you're still getting the pull first, you're still going to have the spine crawlers, you're still going to have the scouting. You've got the queens coming out a little bit earlier. There's just a lot of benefits to it. As you see in this game, we are going to have a very early pull from JaeDong, look to be about a 12 pull. He's still following up with drones. He's not trying to stockpile his larva or do any kind of lings super early or anything like that. Just your very standard play. And I'm tempted to speed through this a little bit, but honestly, it's worth checking out still. ×2, not that bad. Alright, there's the hatch follow-up. Again, hatch before gas, and then pretty much the gas are going to be immediately after that. Now, we are seeing lings in production behind JaeDong. Again, this is going to delay the gas just a little bit, and he's getting more lings than we have seen in the past. Before, we saw only 4 lings. There's an extra larva being expended for more safety. This is going to keep JaeDong alive in the case of any cheese, and it's going to make any harassment he does that a little bit more powerful, but it does come at the cost of 1 drone. Queen on the way, those overlords pumping out real nice. And the reason JaeDong is scouting around here, notice he's not going directly to his opponent, he's not rushing there, he's not trying to hurt Polt with this early pull. It's just that cheese is oh so common these days. And scouting around for all that cheese, Swiss, brie, mozzarella, cheddar, all the different kinds. I have a friend who really likes cheese. She's right there. But anyways, there's the gas coming up. Very standard macro game. There's not too much harassment. Marines in production now. Hellions gonna be on the way. That factory's there. The Reaper did try to get some work in, but no kills. Very nice micro. I've covered how to deal with Reapers in previous Crash Course episodes. Season 1. Check those out if you need to be taught how to do those. Nothing we're going to focus on in this episode. Anyways, these Lings getting a great scout. Now, they are probably going to end up dying. That's fully anticipated. But he's able to see all kinds of things. He's able to see the starport. He's able to see that this is a reactor. So, reactor Hellions. Because it's a starport so quickly, he can probably assume the barracks is going to build a tech lab. For Banshee, question becomes, will there be a cloak or not? But he can assume all of this, and his choice and follow-up will be interesting. Now, we're moving into the mid-game with this opener, and there's some things you should know about it. One of the biggest oddities in this build is Metabolic Boost is complete. Metabolic Boost is complete. But the extractor is still being mined by 3 gas workers. This is really uncommon. Most of the time, Zerg will pull out of the gas for more minerals and a better economy. Remember, minerals let you get more stuff. Gas lets you get better stuff. So it makes sense why if we're going for fast Mutalisks, we're going to want to stay on this. But always keep that in mind, because you might see another build that's more economically driven and it requires you to pull the gas off. But keeping drones on this gas for this build is absolutely essential. Don't mix and match. And as we get an extra round of lings, or rather of drones coming out here for our Zerg, this will be basically 17 drones on this one, 16 drones on this one. We see the layer pop out. That's immediately 100 gas. Immediately, as soon as he gets 100 gas, that 100 gas mined from these three as soon as metabolic boost is started. So, boom, metabolic boost. Keep these guys mining. As soon as you get 100 layer, as soon as the layer starts, you're going to pop an overlord, start a second extractor, a third extractor, and a fourth extractor. And this will put you getting your spire very, very quickly. But again, this is 7 minutes. This is kind of the latest a Zerg will typically take a third unless some real shenanigans are happening. Holt's not doing anything fancy, anything special. There's nothing really JaeDong's too terribly worried about, minus that Banshee that he's already scouted. But he's still not taking a third. That is because this style basically sacrifices everything from 6 to 7 minutes as far as offense and map control are concerned for the Spire. As soon as the Spire comes out, we can take a third, but until then, 2 bases are all that can be sustained. It's very important to keep your queens in a great position, and honestly, JaeDong should probably have a spine crawler, but he's JaeDong, so we can't yell at him or anything. That tech lab coming along nicely here for the barracks. Looks like that barracks will be getting stem pack ASAP, so it will be a Marine Marauder medevac transition. And there is the Spire. As the Spire starts, we see the Hatchery starts. Well, the Hatchery started 7 seconds earlier, but the two coincide. Keep those timings in mind. And here we have some Hellions coming in. They are going to scout that Spire. You know Polt. He's a teammate of Revival. And Revival has already shown this style. So we know that Polt is at least aware that this style exists. So he may indeed have a counter to it. Let's watch this again. This incredible scout. He goes, what is going on? Why is JaeDong not getting a third yet? Let's see what's going on. Let's use this map control. He comes onto the creep, gets up the ramp, immediately scouts the Spire, and he knows what's going on. Now, to JaeDong's credit, he's getting those drones out of there ASAP, so Polt's going to go ahead and back off. Now, basically all Polt's going to have to do at this point is park the Hellions right outside of the creep and keep those creep tumors from spreading. He's going to poke here at the Hatchery, but again, no big deal. Some Ling's going to be pumping out now. He's on 2 base full saturation, so he can totally afford to spend these larvae with no real cost to himself. And Lings actually make a great counter for Hellions on creep. Once you get a good surround on them, they're pretty much dead. And here we go. There could be a nice little surround here. Let's see what JaeDong's going to try and attempt. Timing on that a little bit off, but hey, still good try. So here around 9 minutes, once the Spire is starting to finish, we are going to see a Baneling nest. A lot of players aren't really sure when to get the Baneling nest. Typically, the Baneling nest is most useful when doing Mutaling, that is, when the mutas pop up. Now, that seems kind of common sense to some and then really bizarre to others, so I'm going to explain. Ling Baneling is a thing. Okay, and if you're going to do Ling Baneling with some Muta defense, that's not really what I'm calling Mutaling. Sure, some people may call it that, but for our purposes, that's not Mutaling. That's Ling Bling. For our purposes, Mutaling is going to be a primarily Mutalisk style with leftover minerals spent towards Speedlings. Speedlings are great at dealing with individual Marines, small clusters, but a big pack of Marines with a low surface area because they're tightly packed and close together so the Lings can't surround an individual Marine and kill it off one at a time. And Mutalisks are kind of in the same situation. They can be target fire taken out, and that's a lot of gas to be losing. They're fragile. They have to do their damage very rapidly, get in, get out. You don't want to lose your Mutalisks. You need a huge flock of friggin' Mutalisks to do much of anything. So don't lose. How do you stop from losing them? Key Baneling hits. You use Banelings to keep your Mutalisks alive. The Lings can come in, grab the opponent, hold the opponent, make it hard for the opponent to retreat, but the Banelings are going to be your damage dealer unless he has amazing splits. But the thing is, if he splits, the Lings and the Mutalisks can pick off whatever's left. Leave some Banelings in reserve in case he tries to group up again. But there you go. It's pretty basic. It comes down to micro and control wars, but that's the philosophy behind it. So because you aren't going to need Banelings until you have Mutalisks, there's no reason to build the Baneling nest. It will cut into your gas timings for everything else. But at this point in the game, your goal is to survive. Hopefully hold on to your third base, but even that's negligible. The goal is to stay alive. Flood Lings like nobody's business. You've already got 2 base economy. Keep flooding them. Hold your opponent at bay until the Mutalisks come into play. And even if your opponent scouts it, there's a chance he's not going to be prepared. Look, Polt knows this is coming. He's got the engineering bays on the way now. But they're still not done. And that's going to leave a small timing window, assuming he gets the turrets immediately, which may not occur. But, yeah, this is one of the downsides to going for the Banshee and the Cloak and all that stuff. It's a lot of gas being spent by Polt, which means his upgrades are going to be delayed. Now, one other thing. This later Baneling nest is very strong with these Hellion openers. It makes sense because the Hellion openers will eventually transition into bio, that is Marines, medevacs, sometimes Marauders, that sort of thing. But at this point in the game, you can see some transitions as well. Before this point, you know, he might have not gone Hellions. If he had gone an infantry opener, straight into infantry, well, it's going to be harder for him to take bases. He's probably going to put on more pressure early on. So you're going to want that Baneling nest earlier just in stay alive mode. It's just control of the Lings and the Banelings. It'll transition to a Ling Bling style from there with Mutalisks later on. Hold the army, hit your opponent's army with the Lings, let the Banelings do the damage. Use as few Banelings as possible. The Hellions are going to be swinging up here between the third and the natural, trying to pick off the Queen off creep. Looks like this may get picked off, but there's a transfuse here. There we go. Boom. Great transfuse. There's enough energy on the weak Queen to transfuse, but it cannot transfuse itself. Losing a lot of Lings here, but grabbing some of the Hellions. Loses some of them in surround, but grabs the other ones. Boom. Great hits. Only one Hellion survives that. Great surrounds there by JaeDong. Amazing control. However, don't try that at home. If you're going to engage Hellions, do it on creep. JaeDong's a crazy person. Crazy good, I mean. Don't try that at home. In any case, 7-8 Mutalisks going to be coming out here for JaeDong. The Ling's going to take the map control now. This is the flood of map control we were talking about. Hellions hold it up to a certain point, but around 10 minutes, when the Mutalisks start popping out, the Lings can flood on over here. And this is the third base location Polt is most likely to take. And it looks like JaeDong's going to swing in here and see if he is planning on it. No, nothing's being built there yet, but it could be floated on over. Overlord double checking to make sure that's not going to be the case. And we have our first upgrade now for JaeDong on the flying attack. Now, this is started after 8 Mutalisks have popped up on the field. This is at 10.5 minutes. Very key timing. 10 minutes, you take map control. The map control is what's important, but you don't need that many Mutalisks to do it. Then you get the flying attack, and then you're going to transition back into the Mutalisks. JaeDong's only real concern here is to delay this third as long as possible. He has a third. If his opponent does not, he's ahead. And hey, while this is occurring, why not swing in with the Mutalisks and punish any non-missile turret defense? Let me let you in Polt's head here for a second. He's going, oh, my opponent went faster Mutalisks. That hurts his economy, but it means I can't take my third. I still want to take my third, and he's going to try to brute force his way out. That's one option. I don't think it's the best option. Missile turrets defense would negate JaeDong's going Mutalisks. Might make him consider transitioning out of it. But nothing Polt can really do here is going to take map control immediately. Not even to the small distance to the third. He doesn't have Widow Mines. He doesn't have tanks. He's only just now starting the armory upgrade for the Thors. No good upgrades on infantry. Only 8 Marines on the field. So he's got really no chance of taking the third. So he might as well stay safe in what he does have. To accept the low economy gambit. Also notice that we've got Baneling speed on the way. The centrifugal hooks upgrade, very crucial to a style like this. Again, the Baneling's playing an integral role in the style. And just being relatively annoying with these Mutalisks. Gonna punish some of these mules coming down, hopefully. Yeah, picking those off. Each of those worth about 300 potential minerals. But the Marine's gonna chase the Mutalisks away. Remember, cannot lose Mutalisks when doing a style like this. And just peeling off individual lings to come check for this base. And we do see that it's getting floated over. So JaeDong gonna challenge that base. Or actually, maybe not. He's going to retreat on backwards. Yeah, it looks like there was a Hellion. Yeah, I think, nope, that's a Banshee. Banshee was being a little bit annoying over here, but taken care of. Again, Mutalisk is great against that sort of thing. And again, we know that this base is going to be taken. So let's go ahead and see what JaeDong's going to do about it. Ooh, Banelings. So the Baneling's going to allow him to apply some pressure to the third base, and that's actually a pretty decent size of Marines there for Polt. The total number is 26. He's got 48 SCVs. He's actually got a pretty good number of those. But a lot of Marines, some medevacs, and even a couple of Widow Mines. Looks like just the 2 there. So yeah, some missed micro by JaeDong could definitely turn in Polt's favor. Gonna have to stay way on top of it. Especially with these Banelings, don't want them clumping up too much. But JaeDong's going to be smart in how he attacks here. He's basically just harassing with the Mutalisk to keep Polt on the front line, trying to get Polt maybe to run up this high ground where he cannot necessarily see if there's not a medevac in position into some of these Banelings. But doesn't look like he's going to fall for that bait. So more Ling reinforcements going to swing on in here. And notice how Polt is setting himself up between this defensive chokehold and what will eventually become a defensive corridor here at the third. He wants to be able to swing from this location here and then from this location here, depending on what JaeDong's going to try to do. However, this means his army can be attacked from this direction and from this direction back here, leaving him way vulnerable to those Baneling grabs that we were discussing earlier. And the Widow Mine's actually getting picked off, but taking a shot from them on the Mutalisk. Definitely not something he wants to do. But he does want to defuse these for the Banelings. And then, of course, the Banelings taking a couple of shots from the Widow Mines, but they were split off from the group. And you see the devastation that are the Banelings. Watch how this entire natural is going to get devastated. There go the supply depots and the supply block. The SUVs going to get picked off here as these Marines are cleaned up. And it looks like Mr. Turret is going to finish, but taking shots there from the Baneling's going to burn down. There we go. And Ling's going to come in here to clean up these SCVs. So as you can see, a very nice game here by JaeDong. It really is a different style than what we're used to seeing from the Zerg player. Zerg player is complaining a lot about the cheese on some of these maps. Hopefully this is going to be able to give you guys some more options. We'll speed right on through the rest of this match. It's still a very entertaining match, but it really gets game specific at this point. Really, the idea comes down to using your better economy to deny your opponent an economy and get superior upgrades. You see he's getting the +2 flying attacks. He's only just now getting an evolution chamber. See, he does not have any upgrades on the ground, so he's going to get them in the end, but really focusing on those Mutalisk upgrades. And this will be a +1 melee attack most likely to make those Banelings even more devastating. And getting the Overlord speed, always a useful upgrade. Ah, yes, we've already got ground carapace on the way, so yeah, it's going to be +1 melee for certain. This will be the second evolution chamber. And Burrow on the way as well. Let's talk about some of the annoying tricks of Overlord speed and Burrow. Overlords spit out creep. Enemy buildings cannot build on creep. Park an Overlord here, spit creep down. That's pretty annoying. Kill the Overlord, eventually the creep dissipates, boom, they can drop their expansion. But what happens if a Zergling has burrowed there? They go to land the base here. Takes a second for them to realize, oh, the base didn't land. They go kill the Overlord. Wait for the creep to dissipate. Takes them a second to realize, oh, the base can land. They try to land the base. Assume that it lands. Come back a few seconds later. Realize it still hasn't landed. Go, oh crap, what's happening? Eventually have to use a scan, which is actually a mule, not used. And then has to have their army in position. Maybe wait for their army to come. Basically, it just buys so much time. So it's all going to come down to denying those bases. We see JaeDong on 4 bases now, and he's parked with great creep spread, parked here at the 5th base with queens, even in forward locations, really taking that map control now. It really all comes down to this. Macro hatches even going down here. And Polt's got to be very careful. He does not want to engage on creep, but at the same time, he doesn't want to leave JaeDong alone for too long. He's going to clean up some of this creep, probably scoop in here, and then slide right on back. Just want to see if this 5th base is taken yet, but you'll lose a lot of Marines in the process, and boom, there go a lot of those Marines we were talking about. At nearly double the supply of his opponent, JaeDong is storming through this. And it all really comes down to, again, the safe opener, a different play style, and just challenging the metagame. Sure, this is not the most economical opener. It ties at best. But it's a different game. It's something your opponents probably aren't that aware of in lower leagues. Perhaps, you know, even Diamond players may have some trouble with some of the concepts here. But mostly, it's giving you options. So if you're a Zerg player who likes to explore options, this is exactly the style for you. At the end of the day, JaeDong was able to secure this victory due to map control. This entire style revolves around map control and challenging the different points in the Terran vs. Zerg metagame. Terran vs. Zerg has adapted to what was essentially an evolving metagame. First, Widow Mines were way too strong. They got nerfed, and players had to relearn how to play against Zerg. What they started doing, first person I know of who did it was Tasia, was doing the Reaper Hellion into Banshees and just kind of playing a back and forth tug of war game and using map control and punishing your opponent for taking too many bases too quickly. Zergs were able to challenge that with some roaches and some busts and this, that, and the other. But honestly, the metagame for Zergs didn't change that much. Some Zergs were able to handle it just with sheer micro and skill, but there wasn't really a strategic answer until now. Now we have pull first builds that allow for fast Mutalisks. Again, I'm not sure what to call this. It could be called a fast Muta build. It could be called an early pull build. It could be called a defensive opener. It could be called any number of things. But essentially, it's a map control build. If you control the map, your opponent has to fight on your territory. And if you control the territory, you control the fight. It's that simple. Zergs, spread your creep everywhere. It's that simple. See you next time.
신앙 선수가 되는 거고요.
그렇죠.
멀티에 방해도 받지 않으면서 안전하게 해주고 있는 모습인데 맹독 측의 스피드업이 되기 전에 즉 전방 위에서만 싸워야 되고 전방만 좀 제거하고 마지막에
네.
스캐너만 뿌리고 이 균형을 살려가지고
그렇습니다. 대응 잘못하면은 붙는 상황에 뒤집어질 수 있으나 현재까지는 준비를 이시동 선수가 조금 더 잘해주고 있었다. 이렇게 생각을 해야 될 것 같습니다.
그렇죠. 그 상황이 신앙 선수가 좋습니다. 네. 계속 앞서서 싸움을 걸 수 있는 건 보통 싸워서요. 써먹어요.